Silent Hill is one of the most iconic horror franchises of all time, a series spanning 17 games and 24 years with a variety of successes and failures. But when it comes to the most impactful of the bunch, it's usually agreed that Silent Hill 2 claims that title. A game that explores multiple themes, from loss and depression to denial and marital woes, delving into the darkest aspects of human nature and examining our psyche in a manner few others have even come close. Released in 2001, this game was a cult hit and continues to be hailed as one of the best psychological horrors ever created. With a remake just round the corner, I thought it was a perfect time to look back at this masterpiece and try to understand exactly why it worked and why there's so much hesitation around its revival.
How can you sit there and eat pizza?
Silent Hill is a franchise I've talked a lot about on this channel, and there's a reason I talk about it so much. It's one of my favourite franchises of all time, and a core reason why I wanted to make videos in the first place.
Who would even think of doing something so disgusting?
So, buckle in. We're heading to a dark place. We're heading back to Silent Hill. This tragic tale begins in a dirty restroom, where we see a despondent James Sunderland examining himself, running his hand over his face and letting out an exhausted sigh. Staring in the mirror, he asks if a woman named Mary could really be here.
Mary, could you really be in this town?
At this point, we don't know who Mary is, but this intro instantly calls James's mental state into question. It's like he's not sure he even exists, touching his own face to confirm his reality. Stepping from the sink, we take control and have a little mooch around the abandoned stalls, but before we talk about anything else, can we just appreciate that this game has working mirrors? Like, this is a 22-year-old game. Now compare that to Dead Island 2, which came out a few months ago, and the difference is insane. In fairness, this effect was achieved with a bit of trickery. They actually created two identical rooms, each with a copy of James moving around, an illusion that mimics the effect of a mirror. Naturally, this is very resource intensive. It would only work in small spaces like this restroom, but it's a clever idea and a testament to the ingenuity of the developers. No shade at Dead Island 2 either. I enjoyed my first playthrough, and the fact that the game even exists after 12 years of development hell is a miracle in itself, even if the ending is dog shit.
Oh wow, wait, that's the end?
Leaving the toilet, we step into a car park with our vehicle abandoned across multiple spaces, but we pay it no attention and walk over to a viewpoint just above Toluca Lake, where the game explains how we found ourselves here.
In my restless dreams, I see that town, Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. I'm alone there now.
So it appears we're already in Silent Hill, at the behest of our wife, but there's a big problem. Said wife, she's been dead for several years.
Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then, why am I looking for her?
Now, despite knowing this, James chose to ignore his better senses and headed off at once to find their special place. It establishes James as a desperate person, someone suffering greatly from their grievance, still unable to accept the loss of a loved one.
Could Mary really be there?
Leaving the viewpoint, we take a map from the driver's seat and ditch the car, beginning our descent down a long, unsettling forest trail. To some, this section was irritatingly drawn out, but it is a very carefully crafted section. It wasn't long just for the sake of it, it serves a purpose. Aside from increasing our suspense with the mounting music and monstrous growls, the path literally represents that James is heading to a point of no return. He's descending too far to turn back. After following this path, the only way is forward. Kind of like bookmarking 4chan. Once you go that far, you're fucked. Eventually we stumble across a graveyard where, much to our surprise, we run into a normal person, and I use the term normal loosely.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry. I
No,
was
it's
just...
okay. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm looking for someone.
Her name's Angela, and after a cagey introduction, she reveals that she's also looking for someone. Her mother.
My mother.
Your mother. But on a more interesting note, she has an ominous warning about the town of Silent Hill.
This town, there's something wrong with it. It's kind of hard to explain, but...
Is it dangerous?
This conversation's uncanny, and not just because of the handcrafted animations, flex, but from the tones they use. Tones that don't seem to reflect the strange situation they found themselves in.
And it's not just the fog either.
Okay.
It's...
This could be wrapped up to iffy voice acting, which some people might argue, but I think these interactions add to the dreamlike uncertainty. Everything and everyone is ever so slightly not right in ways that are hard to pin down but glaringly obvious.
I'm looking for my mama. I mean my mother.
Something that's a really hard line to walk. I mean, just look at Homecoming. That game tried a similar effect, but they just came off as skinwalkers like reptiles. It is not easy.
No one ever leaves this place.
Whatever the case, a common thread shared across almost everyone we encounter is the search of missing people. James is looking for his wife and Angela, her mother. The town is attracting lost, lonely souls who, as James says, don't care what happens to them.
I guess I really don't care if it's dangerous or not.
Angela stays behind, wanting time to gather her thoughts, and aside from a few awkward interactions,
What is it?
Oh, nothing.
we have no choice but to leave her.
Aren't you looking for someone?
That's right.
Man, James is a zero charisma motherfucker.
That's right.
Exiting the graveyard, where the melancholy music stops and the imposing metallic sounds continue. Following this second shorter track, we pass over a concrete walkway and finally arrive at our destination, the foggy, abandoned streets of Silent Hill. Apparently Mary's waiting in our special location, which James thinks is Rosewater Park, so heading there should be our first goal. And following the road deeper into the fog, we stumble across a large puddle of blood, with something lurking in the distance. It's a stumbling humanoid shape, one that moves just out of sight, and like all great horror protagonists, we decide the best course of action is tracking this thing down. Who knows? Maybe Mary's been on the lash and she's pissed out her mind stumbling around town. We just can't take that risk. The fog is back in all its glory, an icon synonymous with the franchise. I mean, to this day, I still can't see an empty, foggy town without cracking the joke that we've arrived in Silent Hill. Yes, I am very cool. Originally, the fog was designed as a creative way to mask object pop-in and the game's low load range, a perfect example of hardware limitations leading to revolutionary new concepts. Although one thing I do want to mention is the myth that the town and its fog were inspired by a real-life location called Centralia in Pennsylvania, a town whose mines caught fire, forcing the locals to abandon ship, resulting in an empty settlement frequently shrouded in ash and smoke. And as cool and obviously tragic as this location is, it is not the inspiration for Silent Hill. That's an urban legend. The white snowflakes you see in the game aren't ash, it's snow. The similarities are just an eerie coincidence, one that apparently annoys Ito-san with its frequent citation. The movie's the main culprit for perpetuating this myth. It changed the world's lore to make the connection with Centralia more prevalent.
Coal fire's still burning underneath.
But that was just for the movies, and it doesn't reflect the game's actual inspiration, let it be known. Ito-san, follow me on Twitter. I want to playtest the Silent Hill remake. Blooper? Anyone? Following the occasional spatter of blood, we head into an alley between two buildings and arrive at a small boarded entrance beneath a bridge. James, of course, isn't displaying an ounce of self-preservation. This dark tunnel does not look inviting, but regardless, we head in, passing through a gap to discover an iconic item, a radio with its static blurting out. If you know anything about Silent Hill, you'll know that static means danger, something we discovered to be true right this very second. Standing from the darkness, the game's first enemy rears its head, twisting and contorting. This creature's called the Lying Figure, and it's the game's most common enemy, appearing as a humanoid shape with pale legs and a distinct, armless upper body. Now, this game is renowned for its use of symbolism in creature design. Almost everything is dripping with subtle references to underlying psychological issues, either relating to James or the other people we encounter. This monster, for example, could represent Mary's sickness, one that left her bedbound, where she had to lay there writhing in pain and coughing up phlegm and blood in a similar fashion to how these creatures move and attack. They're slow moving and easy to avoid, but when they fall to the ground, there's a chance they'll slither around like snakes, damaging James if we get in their way. Body horror and snakes, a nightmarish combination the world did not need. I did mention him a moment ago, but Masahiro Ito was the monster designer for this game, a very talented man who's actually being brought back to consult on the upcoming remake. His inspiration for the Lying Figure was apparently BDSM fashion, and more comically, the appearance of his co-worker who was walking towards him late at night. His hood was up, his hands were in his pockets, giving him a bizarre silhouette as he approached. In any case, we're not going to stand around and let this abomination have its way with us. So we grab a plank of wood from the fence behind and bonk it into oblivion. Speaking of the combat, it's slow, janky and awkward, but that's the entire point. We're just a normal person stuck in this hellscape. It manages to hit that sweet spot of not making the player rage and frustration, but also being stressful enough to encourage avoiding encounters where possible, to make us think twice about engaging the enemy, especially on harder difficulties. The combat is a point of contention with the remake. From the promotional material, it appears they're trying to modernize it, even adding the ability to dodge. This got the Twitter sphere in a tizzy. But hey, listen, if I've learned anything from previous games, it's that we'd better not assume anything until we've got our hands on it. All I'll say is people went mad about the dodge, but most of the games have this ability in some capacity, including the first game. It's not new, and as long as we're not rolling around like Nathan Drake on crack, it's probably a good addition. As with all things, it's a matter of nuance and balance. Defeated, James remarks on this unsightly beast.
What the hell is it?
I'm just glad there's an actual reaction to the monsters here. He doesn't just move on like they're a dime a dozen, but much like all his reactions, the response is still very muted.
What the hell is it?
It's disproportionate to what's going on. Either he's in serious shock, or it's a sign of his detached mental state, almost like he's suffering from derealization, a condition where an individual feels the world around them is unreal, something you'd forgive him for given everything going on.
This thing broken? What the?
Walking away, there's nothing but bloodied footprints left behind to signify the violence that just took place. And in an interesting touch, we can revisit this tunnel later in the game, only to find the entrance sealed with police tape, implying some violent crime took place here. This could be trying to plant the seed that we attacked a normal person in some kind of delusion, something that makes the silence and bloodied footprints even more ominous in retrospect because that creature does not fight back in any way. From this point, the streets are littered with lying figures that chase James relentlessly through streets, between alleys, and even from under cars. They add a sense of pressure as we run through, looking for the next destination. And all the sounds this creates, between the static, the hissing and the spitting, it's sensory overload. Even though we're not in any real danger in the open streets with plenty of room to maneuver, it creates the feeling that we are. Following this main road down, we reach another dead end, but this time there's a camper van beside the gate, and inside we find a note asking us to head to Neely's bar. So we retrace our steps and head inside to find a map with yet another location to visit. And not only that, but there's a message written in blood on the wall behind us. There was a hole here, it's gone now. While that might sound ridiculous, this franchise has always had a close relationship with holes and what they represent. Now, the symbolism will change game to game, but in general, circles or holes represent two major themes. Firstly, holes require us to leap into the unknown, literally risking our lives to explore further. It represents a one-way journey into the abyss where buried traumas reside, and a transition of our location in a way that completely disrupts our sense of reality.
What the hell?
The second part of the symbolism is the circle of existence, where death, life and rebirth are intertwined. With gods and children being reborn and transformed in the first and second game, circles are often used to represent the endless cycle Silent Hill appears to be trapped in.
Judgment Day!
There are other meanings you could investigate here, but I think these two stand out as the most prevalent in relation to the franchise. Anyway, we have another location, this time an alley we pass on our journey over to the camper van. It's worth noting you can head straight to this alley and skip the wild goose chase altogether. I mean, most people probably don't even reach the caravan at all, but this isn't a game to be shortcut or speedrun. It's a game to be experienced, so I'ma do it right. Dodging multiple enemies, we make it to the end and find a body lying on the floor, its face bloodied and unrecognizable. But looking closer, its outfit is easily recognizable. It's the same outfit James is wearing. Is this spooky asset reuse or an ominous warning? Who knows? Grabbing a key from the body, we head to the Woodside apartment located just up the road, and the transition from loud monster-filled streets to the fenced-off courtyard is surprisingly tranquil. We're still in the thick of it, but the difference in atmosphere offers a temporary feeling of safety as we prepare to explore the Woodside apartments. Inside, the building's falling apart. Some might argue it's not an inviting space, but according to the map we found earlier, there's a path through these flats to Rosewater Park, so we get to work on finding it, heading upstairs and entering a long, dark hallway. Areas like this, with the camera angles being obscured, are where enemies can really become a nightmare. You can't see shit all, there's little room to maneuver, and all you can hear is this diabolical screeching. Sounding something like a cricket on a unicycle. This noise is from the creepers, which are basically demonic cockroaches. These noisy pests also featured in the first game, having spawned from Alessa's hatred of insects. And if anyone hasn't played the first game or is unaware of Alessa's story, I think a quick summary is important for understanding the context of this game. In short, Alessa Gillespie was a young girl who allegedly had some kind of psychic powers, and sadly these abilities made her the target of a cult known as the Order.
The demon is awakening, spreading those wings.
You see, they wanted to harness these powers with the goal of birthing their deity, a brilliant plan that included brutally torturing Alessa for years, ultimately ending in a ritualistic burning.
The dead will walk and martyrs will burn in the fires of hell.
During this final act, Alessa's powers manifested and she split her soul in two, resulting in a rift in reality. And instead of a god, it birthed the nightmarish town of Silent Hill as we know it. Basically, Alessa's tale's a tragedy, one that shaped the corrupt worlds each protagonist faces. And something you might note about the second game is the massive thematic departure. Silent Hill 1 was all about cults and demon gods, and while there are still traces of these themes, the second game is significantly more about the human psychology. The series would continue to jump between these themes, with some focusing more on occultism and religion than others, and I don't think that was a bad idea. If it were done right, it would have kept the plot fresh within the confines of one town, although with the Silent Hill allegedly set in Japan on the way, it looks like that doesn't matter. Anyway, walking through these halls and finding an open door, we enter room 205 to find a torch illuminating the space. This light is attached to a mannequin, but it's not your typical creepy mannequin design. Its outfit is distinct, familiar even, and upon inspecting our picture of Mary, we discover that it's an exact match. Grabbing the light, we're able to get a better view of our surroundings, but we might wish we hadn't, because from behind the stand, a creature awakes. This monster is known as the mannequin and appears as a double-sided set of legs. They walk on one pair and attack with the other, perfectly balanced, as all leg monsters should be. Its design is arguably feminine in nature. It's literally a pair of long old legs, which yet again could be a reference to James's wife being bedbound. She would have hated her immobility, and this creature is literally two sets of legs walking about, almost mocking her condition. They won't attack us or even produce radio static until James gets close or turns his light on. This is a subtle mechanic the game never directly mentions. All of the monsters are attracted to James's light. If we turn it off, we have a much easier time avoiding them at the cost of visibility. It doesn't matter so much on the open streets, but in these claustrophobic halls, the extra space can save your ass. That is, if you have any idea where you're going. With our new flashlight, we can explore the rest of the apartments, finding a few resources here and there, but it's in room 209 that we encounter our next objective, a clock blocking a gap in the wall. Sadly, before we can crack on with the puzzle solving, we need to unlock the glass case. It would seem James can't bring himself to smash a collector's item, so we head upstairs in search of the f***ing key. Once there, along with some unsettling breathing, we find what we're looking for straight away. A key carefully placed just beyond these bars. All we have to do is reach it.
Ow!
Just as we're about to grab it, some snot-nosed brat kicks it and stomps on our hand. We don't know who she is or what she's doing here, but now the key's out of our reach and I am fuming.
Damn it.
But you know what they say about every cloud? Because in room 301 just down the hall, we find our first firearm. Stepping in, the entire room is full of bullet holes. Every surface is relentlessly riddled, and in a trolley at the center, our very own pistol, able to stop the twitchiest of monsters. The progress kind of comes to a halt here though, because we've explored every room and found nothing to help us. Could this be our end? Are we stuck here forever in some hallway-based purgatory? Well, retracing our steps and walking through the downstairs hallway, this time we hear a scream. So naturally, we head in the scream's direction when the radio begins to crackle, and for the first time, we encounter the game's infamous mascot. Stood staring just beyond a metal fence, we see the red pyramid thing, the executioner, or as it's better known, Pyramid Head. It has many names, but the beast remains the same. A disturbing creature with a rusty metal pyramid for a head, dressed in bloodied butcher robes and often seen dragging an impossibly large blade. What this creature wants with James is, by this point, unknown. All we know is that he's watching us. We can't interact with it in any way, and bizarrely, James doesn't even acknowledge the horrific sight. So for now, we continue our journey, where we discover the source of the scream, a corpse sitting in front of a distorted TV. You can't really tell from the angle shown, but the character model is James Sunderland's. The clothing, the body structure, and even the face model are all James, something you'd only guess at without hacks or data mining. Despite the shock, we find a key to room 202 on a shelf nearby, so that's where we head, leaving the apartment to find our friend missing. Up to no good, I have no doubt. The room in question is mostly empty, bar a few cages which appear to house butterflies or moths that swarm us on entry. It's not until we check the bedroom that we discover the room's purpose, because on a wall marked by an ominous glow, there's a hole, and as the mechanical music kicks in, it's clear we got to shove our hand into this oozing orifice. Thank the gods they chose green ooze over saying, I don't know, white, because yeah, that would be a bit sus. We slowly reach inside, and after a rocky start, we pull out a key for the clock. Goated hole, never doubt it for a second. Although it does mean that the key the girl kicked earlier unlocks something different. Opening the clock, there are 3 arms to move around, and on the wall behind us, 3 scribbles. Henry, Mildred, and Scott, all accompanied with what looks like a direction. Now I'm playing on the hard puzzle difficulty, as all fans should, and as a puzzle, this one's no brain scratcher. Any guesses though? Go on, what do you think? Well, that's absolutely incorrect. What are you, stupid? The answer's simple. Henry equals hour, Mildred, minute, and Scott, seconds. Passing through, we can now reach the upstairs section and grab the key the little girl kicked away, which turns out to be a fire escape key. But before that, we stop into room 307 to discover a harrowing sight. Inside, Pyramid Head is back, interacting with 2 monsters in a distinctly violent and arguably sexual way. It undoubtedly implies a violent dominance over these creatures, and with the mannequins representing a more feminine aspect, it would seem Pyramid Head is meant to signify sexual violence in some way. Even the fact that James is hiding in a closet watching this unfold adds a perverted voyeurism to the events. But not wanting to see how this plays out, James readies his gun and unloads a clip through the closet. This causes the monster to walk away, instead of, I don't know, pulling us out and adding our body to its roster. I'm a scat man. Once alone in this closet, we discover a key to the courtyard, which means we now have 2 keys to use if we can only find the doors to use them on. Taking a stairwell at the back of this new second floor, we find a second lobby area containing some canned juice. And no, this isn't a massive healing item like a 6-pack of Fanta, it's the solution to a puzzle. In the first hallway we entered, there was a rubbish chute and it was all bunged up. Nothing we could do about it at the time, but by using this big heavy crate, we were able to clear the blockage, causing it to land in the dump outside. And once there, we snoop through the bins to find a coin, something that doesn't have any bearing to us yet. But more interestingly, on an old newspaper article, we find a reference to a series of murders carried out by none other than Walter Sullivan, which, if you remember from our Silent Hill 4 video, is the antagonist of the 4th game. The lore of the town really was so well established in the early days. I love a bit of foreshadowing.
My name's Walter Sullivan.
Anyway, heading back to the main lobby and using the courtyard key, we enter a large concrete square with a few seats and a nice family pool swarming with lying figures. At the center sits another coin, although grabbing it is a dangerous affair and you'll easily soak up a few hits if you're not careful. Now we have 2 coins, the snake and the old man. Fuck knows what they're used for, but hey, I'm glad to have them. I'm a hoarder. Aside from the coins, this courtyard gives us access to a second block of flats. And at the back in room 101, we hear a strange noise coming from the bathroom. Don't worry, it's not the burping nurses from the room. It's a real person, Eddie, who's being sick after encountering the dead body sat in the kitchen.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Do what?
I didn't do anything. I swear. He was like this when I got here.
This does hark on the expression, the lady doth protest too much. Before James even speaks, he's already denying murder, despite no one accusing him.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Now, putting our suspicions aside, he seems like a decent enough person, more aware of the bizarre situation surrounding the town than Angela, although he does act like he's hiding something.
What happened here anyway?
I told you, I don't know.
Wanting some time to recover, he asks to stay put, so we say our goodbyes and move on, meaning there's only one thing left to do: try the fire escape. Opening it up, as always, it's not as we would expect. Climbing through the window of a separate building placed in impossibly close proximity, we enter the Blue Creek apartments, where the layout of each room is slightly different, but the premise is the same. We need to find a way out, but not before James smashes his hand down the shitter. My brothers in Christ, no one even asked James to do that. Man said looks like something's blocking the drain and he went elbow deep. Thank Jeebus it wasn't a big old turd log, or that would have just been really upsetting for everyone involved. Turns out the blockage was a wallet, one containing a series of numbers that unlock a safe in the adjacent room for a bunch of bullets. And man, if I ever use the gun, I'll have ammo for days. Having a wander around, in room 105, we find a locked cabinet with multiple empty holes, which is where the coins we collected earlier come into play. We just need to find one more. And while hunting this coin down, in room 109, we run into Angela again, except this time she appears more depressed, staring at herself with a knife and contemplating drastic actions.
Yeah. I'm James.
This interaction is stranger than normal, with both appearing to almost jump between knowing each other and at the same time acting like it's their first encounter.
So, why did you come to this town anyway?
I'm sorry. Did you find the person you're looking for?
Not yet.
James tries to offer her some reassurance, talking her off the ledge and eventually asking for the knife.
Will you hold it for me?
Sure. No problem.
If I kept it, I'm not sure what I might do.
She agrees to give it over, but when we go to grab it, she starts screaming and brandishes the weapon at us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I feel bad. Please, don't!
Realizing we were only trying to help her, she calls herself bad before walking off. This behavior, along with her habit to regress into a childlike state, is a telltale sign of historic abuse, particularly of younger children.
I'm sorry. I feel bad.
But for now, she's away with the wind, so we take the knife and examine it for a moment before grabbing the final coin from the table. Bizarrely, we can't use this knife as a weapon. All we can do is hold on to it, which I'm gutted about. I was hoping for a game-breaking weapon like in Homecoming. At least now we have enough coins to solve the puzzle though, which consists of placing them based on the vague description given by the text on a plaque. Once we've done that right, we get a key to a previously locked apartment, inside which you might hear an ominous whispering. It's something along the lines of, see my dead wife, come home to do some laundry. And apparently this whisper's random. There's a 50-50 chance it'll occur. So I was gassed when I heard it. The RNG gods blessed my playthrough and let me grab that audio. The room itself's empty, but crossing through the balcony, we find a bedroom with a key to the stairwell waiting for us. This is it, our ticket out of here. So we head over, but once inside, the door locks behind us. We're trapped, and we're not alone, because our old buddy Pyramid Head is sat in the corner, once again, acting up, giving a monster the old filthy Frank treatment.
I eat ass.
Our goal here is to survive. This hulking beast can't be killed. Instead, we navigate this small space, avoiding its sword and grab attacks while returning fire where possible. It's a tense section where we know we're outgunned, but we have nowhere to hide. Do we even try to fight, or are we just wasting ammo? Every bullet sounds like it's bouncing off his metal head. What was only a few minutes felt like a lifetime. You can shoot him, which will end the section faster, but it's also time-based. Run around for long enough and the fight will end all the same. So to save ammo, you might be better off dancing around the area like Floyd Moneymaker himself. And after 5 or so minutes, an alarm will ring out. Upon hearing this, Pyramid Head will completely disengage us and walk into the flooded basement, causing it to lower as he descends to its depths, leaving us confused, likely injured, and fully aware that the only way forward is to follow the beast we just spent several minutes avoiding. The encounter was worth it though, because after taking the stairs, we exit the building to arrive in a back alley. Finally, we're out in the open air again. A beautiful sight that's rudely interrupted when we run into the little brat from earlier.
You! It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who stepped on my hand.
I don't know. Maybe I did.
This encounter has a few interesting points. Firstly, when James says, "What is she doing in this town?" she asks if we're blind.
What's a little girl like you doing here anyway?
Huh? Are you blind or something?
Which is an odd and very open statement with a lot of implication. Most interesting of which is that she's seeing something completely different to James just entirely. Something that in her mind should make it very clear why she's here.
Are you blind or something?
Second is that she appears to know Mary, even claiming that James didn't love her before running off.
You didn't love Mary anyway.
Wait! How do you know Mary's name?
I mean, is this child even real? That's the question most people will have by this point. Or is she some vindictive entity summoned by the town?
Ow!
Whatever the case, we follow the road, and the map we found earlier is true to its word. We're at Rosewater Park, anxious to find out if Mary really is waiting for us. Passing through the walled gardens, there isn't a great deal to see. That is, until we reach the waterfront and find a woman waiting for us.
No, you're not.
Do I look like your girlfriend?
No, my late wife.
In a shock twist, this woman isn't our wife. It's a different person. One ironically called Maria, who looks exactly like Mary and has an eerily similar name.
See? Feel how warm I am?
You're really not Mary.
I told you, I'm Maria.
The only difference between this woman and James's late wife is her personality and dress sense, with Maria being outwardly flirtatious and sensual.
Feel how warm I am?
Understandably, this sends James into a spiral. He's struggling to wrap his head around this woman and her similarity to Mary, something that annoys this stranger at first, but it doesn't take long for her to start laying on the charm.
I'm all alone here. Everyone else is gone. I look like Mary, don't I? You loved her, right?
It's possible that James was so desperate to see Mary that the town conjured Maria as some twisted torment, basically giving James his wife, but also withholding her. She's within his reach, but not there at all.
No, you're not.
You can even argue that she's more sexual because that's what James wanted from his wife, a theory that adds to the sexual frustration themes we've seen demonstrated so far. Whatever the case, it turns out that the park isn't our special place after all. Whoopsie doopsie, our special place was actually Lakeview Hotel.
Is this your only special place?
Well, there's the hotel too, I guess.
This resort's on the other side of town though, and not only do we have to reach it, but Maria, our trustworthy friend here, she'll be joining us for the ride.
You're coming with me?
You were gonna just leave me?
Now the next section is technically an escort mission, with Maria hot-tailing it around the hills with us, but it's not really a burden at all. She stays out of the way, we don't have to heal her, and best of all, no matter how far we are, she'll automatically teleport when we go through a door. And honestly, that small addition might have stopped this section from being a nightmare. Escorting Eileen was a massive sticking point in the 4th game, but Maria isn't that. She's a narrative driver, not a child to be escorted.
I can't use a ladder with my arm like this.
And leaving the park, I don't know if it was just in my head, but the fog itself seemed thicker, obscuring more of the town, which would be a great way to represent how confused James is feeling right now. Having run into Maria, his thoughts would be all over the place, chaotic and foggy, like the town itself. Something I adore about the early Silent Hill titles is that their visuals hold up remarkably well. And I know that phrase gets thrown around a lot, but in this case, it's genuinely true. This game is more atmospherically disturbing than 90% of horror games made in its wake, despite having less technology to work with. It's a testament to mood and tone over pure fidelity. Even the camera angles themselves are often works of art, flicking between perfectly framed cinematography to almost voyeuristic affairs, stalking James through bushes or peering around door frames. I know it has its moments, but when it works, it's a thing of beauty. And with the remake leaving the fixed camera angles in favor of an over-the-shoulder perspective, they might struggle to recapture this magic. Even if it looks better, if it lacks the same tone, people won't be happy.
You were gonna just leave me?
It's worth noting that the version you're looking at now has been punched up thanks to a community project called Silent Hill 2 Enhanced. It's an unofficial patch bringing the PC version up to modern standards, and if you're gonna play the game, this is the way to experience it. It doesn't change the tone, it just cleans up what was already there, and the team in charge have done an amazing job. Kudos to them. But do you know what isn't a good way to experience the game? The HD re-release dropped in 2012. Comparison time. Here's the volumetric spooky fog from the original release. Here it is in the HD version. Here's the pier that we encountered Maria. Here it is in the HD version. Like, where is the fucking fog? I can see the map cutting off in the far corner. This is awful. And it didn't stop with the graphical issues, because new voice actors were even hired to re-record every line, changing interactions from this
Mary, could you really be in this town?
to this.
Mary, could you really be in this town?
Honestly, that's a matter of preference. I don't think one's inherently better. The HD version provides more emotion, but then again, the detached monotony is meant to mimic how messed up and confused the characters are. So take your pick. I won't judge. And in fairness to Hijink Studio, these issues were mostly due to incomplete or missing source code, because apparently Konami decided to just bin it all after the game launched, which is insane in itself, but basically don't play this version. It does the game no justice.
Is this your only special place?
Anyway, back on the streets and heading for the hotel, our next destination is a bowling alley just down the road, one Maria doesn't want to enter for literally no reason.
I'll wait here. I hate bowling.
Bish, I don't like monsters all that much, but here we are. You know what? It doesn't matter. Enjoy the open air and demonic creatures. I'ma head in for a gander. A choice that pays off, because once inside, we stumble across a conversation between Eddie and the unknown kid.
So what'd you do? Robbery? Murder?
Nah, nothing like that.
Huh! You're just a gutless fatso.
What'd you have to say that for?
This conversation boils down to Eddie alluding to his questionable past, while the young lass viciously taunts him.
Fatso.
And wanting to intercept this little powwow, we quickly make our way through the lobby, but before reaching them, we hear Eddie ask an interesting question.
Did you find the lady you're looking for? What's her name? Mary?
Did you find Mary? Implying that this girl not only knows about her, but is also in Silent Hill looking for Mary, just like James. And when we do manage to reach the lanes, the girl's already on her way out.
Bye-bye.
Wait, come back!
And instead of helping go after her, Eddie decides to sit and eat a nice slice, something that royally pisses off James.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
She said she was fine by herself.
Forget you.
Our interactions with these people are getting progressively stranger. It's like they're acclimatizing to the craziness, literally hanging out and eating pizza instead of breaking down and trying to escape, something you'd expect anyone else to do in that situation. It's especially jarring for James, who's just survived a nightmarish encounter with an unkillable geometric shape, only to find the other survivors chilling, eating pizza like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. The parallels between their struggles could not be further apart.
Forget you.
Leaving Eddie to chase down Laura, we run outside to find Maria panting.
Did a little girl run out of here?
Yeah, she was too fast for me.
And that's a clever touch about Maria's character. We never actually see her interact with anyone other than James, nor at any point in the entire game. Earlier, she refused to enter the bowling alley because she hates bowling, and now we just missed her attempts to stop Laura. This is done to elevate our doubts about her entire existence. We can't validate her presence with the third parties, so we're always left guessing.
Where are you going? This isn't the way that little girl went.
Apparently Laura's run back the way we came, towards a previously locked club, and with James wanting to know why she's looking for Mary, we decide to follow her. Reaching the alley in question, we're bang out of luck once again because she slipped through a small gap between two buildings.
Is there any other way?
Yeah, there is. Right through there.
But all hope is not lost. Turns out Mary has a key for the building that's blocking our way. Or I should say, 3 keys all hidden across various pockets. This building's a strip clubby sort of establishment, which implies that Maria worked here before we encountered her. There's even a poster that advertises her as a dancer back in the starting toilets, which would give her a more established existence in this world. But then again, why would there be an old resident of a long abandoned town just walking around? That doesn't make sense either. Passing through the club, we track Laura down as she runs into Brookhaven Hospital, a building that would hold significance to James. His wife was hospitalized 4 months before passing, so it would make sense that we faced this environment at some point, and now, in need of answers, we head inside. Landing in the reception area, things are about as you'd expect. The place is abandoned, although not in complete disrepair. Laura's in here somewhere though, so we begin with a sweep of the area, finding most of the doors locked, bar the reception office, where we find a note talking about a patient suffering from delusions of another world, one that appears to consume them when under extreme stress. But this place couldn't exist, right? Well, this other world is a reference to the nightmare reality seen in other installments, but here it's again examined under the lens of mental illness. Is it real or just a mechanism for coping with a harsh reality? Next to this note, we grab something called a bull key for some unknown box and head off to see what else we can find. Also, at the risk of repeating myself, the ambient noise in this area is phenomenal. It's almost industrial, like metal pipes clanking together or a cursed washing machine tumbling in the distance. Much like the town itself, the music sounds like contorted versions of everyday noises. Akira Yamaoka done an outstanding job on every piece of music and every noise created for this franchise. I mean, apparently they even recorded 100 footstep variations to make sure walking always sounded unique, and it's those extra touches that really just make this game what it is. Taking a staircase up to the next floor, our radio bursts into life and we encounter a new enemy type. These creatures are called bobblehead nurses, and their symbolism is pretty self-explanatory. Hospitals represent the worst part of James's life, a process that doctors and nurses are an inescapable part of. And the raunchy nature of their design could even suggest a level of temptation James felt while interacting with the nurses tending to Mary, that perhaps he felt guilty for desiring them while his wife was dying. They twitch violently as they approach, with their faces covered in a plastic material filled with an unknown liquid, seemingly suffocating the nurses for every second they exist. And these baddies attack in numbers, swinging their long pipes at James if we get too close. Not that they're biased though. When the nurses start pulling up, they'll hit anything in their way, friend or foe, something that can actually play to our advantage in a pinch. With the hallway cleared, we continue our search, stumbling across a small bear in a nearby closet.
Ow!
What's wrong?
I just pricked myself.
Ah, a bent needle. Well, I say, we'll certainly be needing that. I mean, there is a shotgun next to it, which is alright. But I mean, it's no bent needle now, is it?
Pricked myself.
The rest of the building consists of different hospital rooms with overturned beds and padded cells, all of which are a joy to explore. This is a classic horror location. Much like schools, hospitals make for great set pieces. They're miserable places associated with loss and pain. The last place you'd want to spend your evenings exploring, but hey, here we are. On the 3rd floor, after guessing the door code, we step through and get a scene that really captures what makes this game great. With a drone humming and the sounds of wet footsteps, we see nothing but a dark hallway as our imagination works against us. And reluctantly, after clearing the hallway, we step into patient room 3, where Maria sits on the bed and begins to cough, claiming she's just hungover.
I'm kind of tired. It's just a hangover.
So without much concern for her safety, we tell her to rest a moment while we go and search for Laura.
I'm gonna go look for her. For Laura. I'll be back as soon as I can.
This has an ominous parallel with Mary, a sickness, being bedbound in a hospital while James struggles on. We've seen this all before.
I'll be okay soon.
On the bedside table, we grab a key for the roof and head up, arriving to total darkness. It's as if the roof is in some forgotten plane of existence where not a single slither of light can reach us. Some chosen undead really fumbled the bag here. This desolate scene adds to the feeling of isolation. After just having left Maria behind, we're totally alone. And to make matters worse, when we try to leave, we discover that the door is locked behind us. We're trapped up here with no escape, walking around until we hear a familiar sound. Smashed off the roof by our old friend, we arrive wounded in the special ward. The fall and landing make no sense in terms of positioning or even physics, but we did need to get to this part of the hospital. So in some ways, it's as if Pyramid Head was pushing us forward rather than trying to kill us. Checking a padded cell, we find a message from one of the inmates with the number 6612 written on the wall, claiming that the other code is his secret name. These numbers are for a lockbox, the same one we found a bull key for back in reception. This box is in room S14 and requires 2 keys and 2 codes. We already have the 2 keys from our exploration and 1 code, with the second being found on a typewriter downstairs. Now I know that's a quick explanation, but the keys and codes are all over the place and there's a lot of back and forth, so for the sake of punchy writing, just know that we secure the goods, and once that box is open, we find a string of hair. Not to worry though, this isn't some elaborate troll. We need this for a separate puzzle. In a room down the hall, a little drain hole's been sat there, teasing us with something in the pipe. But now, if we combine the hair with the bent needle, we can reach it. Silent Hill logic, ain't it a thing of beauty? Yo, hold up, whose fucking hair is that anyway? King Kong's? I am grateful for its density though, because with our fishing skills, we've uncovered the elevator key, allowing us to access the first floor's patient wing, marked with the groan of ventilators. Exploring each room, we finally bump into Laura, who's playing with her toys, happy as Larry. And I have to say, James is a better man than me, because I'd have drop kicked her on sight after her previous behaviour.
How do you know about Mary?
What's the big deal?
Speaking about Mary, she claims she first met her only a year ago, something that gets James's back up because she was long dead by that point.
You liar! Laura,
Fine, don't believe me.
But last year, Mary was already...
After calming down, we managed to talk her into coming with us, and when James asks her about her notable lack of any injuries, she doesn't understand why.
There are all sorts of strange things around here. I can't believe you haven't even gotten a scratch on you.
Why should I?
This reinforces the idea that she doesn't encounter or see any monsters. Maybe it's because she's young and there's no grief or regret to exploit, or maybe Alessa, with her lingering powers, empathizes with the child and doesn't want her harmed. Either way, on the way out, she talks about a letter from Mary and asks if we can grab it.
What is it?
A letter from Mary.
Huh?
I want to go get it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Claiming it's just at the back of this here room, and I don't know about you, but I smell a smell. A fishy kind of smell that smells like betrayal.
Laura! What are you doing?
The absolute shithead slams the door on us, locking us in, and initially we're pissed off.
You snotty little brat! Open up!
But then we're concerned because something's coming.
Laura?
These monsters are known as flesh lips, and while they're not the speediest of enemies, our combat arena is tiny, which makes the 3 of them a big problem. The metallic creatures hang from the ceiling and float around in haunting fashion, using their feet to slam or strangle James. Their cage and bed shape embody the sick bed that Mary passed in. And according to Masahiro Ito, the lips reflect Mary's mouth, which abused James in her last days, hurling insults at James either out of fear of her death or in spite of how distant he was becoming.
Laura?
Apparently, a big inspiration for Ito was the artwork of Francis Bacon, who usually placed his subjects in geometric cages just like these abominations. And fighting them was somewhat of a pain. They take a lot to put down, and when you're grabbed, you just have to sit there with a dumb look on your dumb face while you wait for the animation to end. And to make matters worse, when we kill one, they just raise their legs up. It's like they're presenting. It's sending me mixed messages, I can't lie. Yeah, this fight was an iffy one for me. The monster design was great, the fight itself was frustrating, and I think that about sums it up. But once all 3 are defeated, a siren rings out, with the camera swinging around wildly as James appears to pass out. Waking up, we stare at the grate above us as we move fast, likely being pushed on a gurney to some unknown location. As you might know, a huge inspiration for Silent Hill was a 90s movie called Jacob's Ladder. Fun fact, I made a full 40-minute breakdown of this movie a while back. It took 3 weeks to put together, and in the end, it was completely blocked by Studio Canal, which means that no one can watch it. And I tried everything to get it through. I re-edited it like several times. I put it on a projector, I lowered the quality, I pitch shifted the audio, and aside from making it look like it was on a fucking Tamagotchi, I could not get it past their automatic systems. Once those options ran out, I reached out to bigger YouTubers to see if they had a solution. They ignored me, but I wasn't deterred. I was still determined to get this video to you. So somehow I ended up getting in contact with the UK's, let me get this right, I can't even remember the title, UK Library Commercial Development Manager to try and get this video greenlit. And in this email exchange, I literally told him that they can copyright the video and take every penny it will make. Just let me release it. I've spent 3 weeks working on it. It's already done. The movie's like 40 years old. It is nothing but a win for them if they've done that. To which he basically replied, no, sucks to suck, you fucking nerd. So that video is dead and buried in the archives, and I'm kind of scared about what or how much to show you about Jacob's Ladder in case I get slapped by their legal team, but I feel obligated to talk about it in some capacity because it had such a big inspiration on Silent Hill. Most notable of which would be Jacob's distinct army jacket. It's a military style, which makes sense for Jacob being a vet, but James doesn't have any military service in his history, so the jacket is likely just a wink and a nod. And aside from appearances, the environment, contorted monster design, and more specifically, the scene we just saw with the gurney were all inspired by a very famous scene. One where Jacob is being pushed through a demonic hospital ward with blood pooling on the floor and deformed people scuttling on the grate above him. It's a great scene, and if you haven't watched it yet but don't mind an older, slower paced movie, it's a must watch. It is annoying that I can't share my original video with you, but what can you do? Such is life, and it's not nearly as annoying as the fact that only 45% of my viewers are subscribed to the channel. Why is this? Do you not like great content? Do you not like supporting new and up-and-coming content creators? Don't be like Studio Canal. Show your support, hit subscribe. Anyway, after our impromptu tour of the hospital, we arrive at a bizarre room with concrete walls and grass flooring. It would appear, dear viewer, we're in the other world, a location that's just as effective here as it is in the other games, with rusted walls and fleshy material clinging from every surface. Although unlike most of the other games, it's less of an actual hellscape, but rather a dirtier, more hostile version of the areas we've recently explored. But it's not until we reach the room that we left Maria in that things get truly disturbing. She's gone. The room's empty and heavy breathing loops endlessly, even changing which ear the noise plays from dynamically, which is unsettling on every level. Ma'am, please stop breathing in my ear. Ma'am, this is a Wendy's. Eventually we enter the staircase leading to the basement, where we push aside a shelf and find a ladder leading God only knows where. So as we do, we prepare for a descent.
James!
Whoa! Maria jump scare appearing from the fucking brick wall just before the climb, and she is not happy to see us.
I was almost killed back there!
Pissed off about us abandoning her, she flies off the lid, insulting James and belittling his search for Mary.
All you care about is that dead wife of yours. I've never been so scared in my whole life!
After calming down, she unexpectedly asks after Laura, claiming she feels some need to protect her, even though she's clearly not sure why.
What about Laura? Did you find her?
You really seem to care about her. Do you know her?
I've never met her before. I just feel sorry for her. She's all alone. And for some reason, I feel like it's up to me to protect her.
This remark supports the theory that Maria is a manifestation of the town. As we know, the town doesn't seem to want to hurt Laura, and if Maria were created by the town, she would feel inclined to help as well. Whatever the case, we begin our climb down, discovering, rather anticlimactically, nothing more than a box room and a ring. A comically large ring at that. I guess they were afraid people would miss it, but that thing is wham. We need the jewellery though to solve a puzzle. But before that, do you like quizzes? Because if we try and take the lift downstairs, we get called upon to partake.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Trick or Treat!
Stuck in the lift, a speaker asks us 3 questions, the answers to which we have to just remember in our brain tissue and recall when we reach the 3rd floor storeroom and attempt to input the correct code. Get any of the answers wrong and we're sprayed with a toxic cloud, but if we get them right, we're rewarded with a boatload of ammo and healing items. I have nary a fucking clue what the game was going for here. Maybe James subconsciously despises quiz shows, or maybe his wife was caught banging Richard Osman. I honestly don't know, it still baffles me to this day.
What was that?
After that detour, we grab a 2nd ring from a stiff fridge on the 2nd floor.
Not very cute, is it? Here, James. You take it.
Thanks.
Then we place both on the mural of a woman upstairs, unlocking a final door, one that leads to our escape. Descending this enormous staircase, we enter a tunnel beneath the hospital, but we're not alone. Turning a corner, Pyramid Head appears hot on our tail, where a frustrating chase sequence ensues, resulting in Maria frequently dying because she cannot navigate the tight hallways. This forces us to try again from whenever the fuck our last save was. Can't kill her if I get there first, asshole. I guess her vulnerability does increase the tension, but it's just blood boiling when she takes a corner like a tank and dies for no reason. That said, the chase is necessary for what comes next. By a mere inch, Maria doesn't make it inside the lift. Once again, James is utterly alone, and as this realization kicks in, he literally buckles to the floor while melancholy music begins to play. Maria was strange and we couldn't trust her, but she was the closest thing we had to a friend, and now she's gone. After some time, we regain our composure and use this lift to arrive back at the lobby with the somber atmosphere following us. Heading to the staff room, we find a map with a note claiming that the only way to find truth is forward. Basically, yeah, you're fucked, but why stop now? Why not see things through to the bitter end? There's 2 places marked on this map, a buried item in the park where a patient's hidden a key to the museum, and a bar downtown where there's a wrench waiting for us. Seeing as the bar's the closest, we head there first, leaving the hospital to find Silent Hill in near total darkness. Now, this bar is back on the other side of town, and rather than going round the long way, this time we can cross through a tunnel with the ground made up of mesh floating above a near endless expanse, and dangling just below this are creatures known as the Mandarin.
Oh, 3 Mandarin!
They look like the closer from the 3rd game, but they're slightly different, with a female body hanging from the center. Their outstanding feature is their giant arms, which they use to walk and attack. They're fairly harmless, mind, and if you just speed through it, they'll offer no trouble as we leave the tunnel. However, just before heading to the wrench, if we should choose to visit the other bar from the start of the game, you know, the one with that message about missing holes, well, we'll find a second message this time. One that reads, if you really want to see Mary, you should just die, but you might be heading to a different place. It's a direct, damning, and impactful statement for James. You can only imagine the dread reading something like that would cause a man searching for his dead wife. I'm just slightly disappointed James doesn't react in any way, especially after so much loss. Seeing a more human response to this would have been heartbreaking. Anyway, grabbing the wrench, we head to the park, unearth the key, and make a quiet, reflective dash over to the Silent Hill Historical Society to see what truth it is we've been sent to uncover. The building's home to multiple artifacts elaborating on the town's history, including, much to our horror, a mural to the lethal pursuer. Other than that, there isn't much to find. It's not until we reach a back room that the plot thickens. Behind a burnt wall, there's a staircase leading into pure darkness with an alarm ringing out. Every fibre in our body is saying do not go down there, but we have no choice. Disturbing sounds aside, the only way is forward. This staircase is so long, it actually fucks with your head. It's never ending. At one point, I was even tempted to turn around and just try and go back, to give up. Fuck this, I'm going home, sucks to suck, Mary. But it's a matter of persistence. We have to keep heading down in a scene not too dissimilar to the start of the game. Of course, what doesn't help is the sirens ringing out louder the further we descend, ultimately playing over themselves in chaotic fashion. Eventually though, we reach the bottom, stepping through a door to find ourselves in some kind of reception area. But this isn't the museum's basement, it's a prison, with barred windows and monsters lurking around every corner. Right now, we should be asking ourselves exactly what kind of prison are we in? Is it a normal abandoned prison for the challenged citizens of Silent Hill? Or is it some sadistic torturing ground for the Order? Either way, we're here now and we need answers. There isn't much to find on this first level, aside from, of course, this here giant pit encompassing an entire cell. Examining it, we get a tempting offer. Do we jump into the abyss? And this is exactly what I was talking about earlier when I described the game's use of holes. We're literally tumbling into the unknown, to what could easily be our death. Not only that, but there's absolutely no way back from this point. Unlike the long forest trail that makes us feel like the only way is forward, this hole is telling us. After our tumble, we find James at the bottom of a giant well, with unscalable walls surrounding us. There's no escape. Hell, there isn't even any lotion. I mean, imagine you're in James's shoes for a second. You've just found yourself in a dark well with no way out, in a town where no one will ever find him. The panic and claustrophobia would be insane. And when you first played this section, you might be feeling the same. Interacting with the walls, there's nothing. We run around in circles, blindly clicking on every surface until we notice a specific section that feels different. And with a quick swing from our pipe, the wall crumbles, revealing a hidden door. Passing through, we drop into a flooded basement, an area with insane architecture, forcing James to make a second jump down a vertical hallway. This time, we wait to find Eddie off his fucking rocking horse.
Killing a person ain't no big deal. Just put the gun to their head.
Once again, he's been found near an unknown dead person, claiming it wasn't his fault and that he had no choice.
But it wasn't my fault. He made me do it. Besides, he was making fun of me with his eyes, like that other one.
Just for that, you killed him?
A sinister side of Eddie's starting to reveal itself. He clearly has no issues killing someone, even for something as trivial as looking at him the wrong way.
Eddie, you can't just kill someone because of the way they looked at you.
Oh yeah? Why not? Till now I always let people walk all over me.
This could be an indicator that Eddie suffers from some kind of untreated paranoid schizophrenia. He's someone that reacts violently to situations created in his own mind. Whatever the case, this aggressive streak is getting worse, a fact that might not bode well for us should we run into him again.
I was just joking, James. Anyway, I gotta run.
You're going out there alone?
Yeah.
We're in the prison canteen now, and interacting with a food tray at the back, we find a stone tablet labelled Gluttonous Pig. We need this plaque to solve a puzzle later, but it's also likely here to throw shade at Eddie, a lad who's on the larger side and would rather eat pizza than help a small child. It's no coincidence we found it just after this encounter. The town, it would seem, has some contempt for Eddie.
I was just joking, James.
Leaving the canteen, we arrive at the cell blocks, with most being empty, some having lined figures, and a few being occupied by an unknown invisible enemy. These unseen beings are referred to as the prisoners, and they sit in their cells making a racket. There isn't much known about them aside from the distinctly human sound they make when they die. Maybe the devs wanted to make you feel guilty about murking a helpless, unseen creature that, for all you know, could be an innocent person. You know, an innocent, demonic sounding person. On the whole, it feels like this entire area was designed to break the player's nerve, from the increased focus on scares to the relentless background music. In fact, this area is home to the game's only jump scare. If we enter the woman's toilet and knock on one of the stalls, we hear a woman scream. Toilet scares are a running theme in Silent Hill and Japanese games in general, likely due to the Japanese folklore of Hanako-san, an urban legend about a girl that haunts women's toilets, being summoned if you knock 3 times on the 3rd stall. Basically, toilets in Japanese horror are usually bad news. And refocusing on the chaotic music, I have to say it works beautifully here, because when you enter a hallway with no noise, it feels wrong. It's like the game's preparing you for a scare. The quiet becomes deafening. They should have called this game Silent Halls. Oh, I'm sorry. I literally wrote that joke down too. I had so many opportunities not to say it, but the point I'm trying to make is that their use of silence is just as powerful as their use of sound. The prison isn't all bad news though, because hunters rejoice. In an office at the back, we find our very own rifle, packing a ton of power in exchange for a slower fire rate. It's well worth grabbing though, just in case we fight any more monsters, which I'm sure we might. There's only one area left to explore now, this giant empty room. It's too large to see anything in the expansive darkness, but pushing through, we find something at the center, a galley with 3 slab-like holes in the front. This is where the 3 slates we've gathered up to this point come into play, so we whack them on. Well, that was fun, but aside from the dude creaming himself, nothing happens. So we turn to leave, only to find a horseshoe hanging from the door. But what on earth do we do with this? Well, the answer is related to this here hatch. Its handle's missing, but how do you think we get that open? Well, the solution is mind-boggling. We have to combine the lighter, the horseshoe, and a wax figure to create a new handle. Who the fuck thought this shit up then, huh? Wax is not a strong substance. How would it lock a handle in place? It's not even like there was some sort of symbolism here to justify it. It's just dumb. I remember the answer from memory, so it wasn't a problem this time, but I remember raging the first time round because it made no sense and it took me ages to think about adding a wax doll to the combination. Anyway, with that, we have another jump where we pass through a morgue with bodies stacked on top of each other, overflowing from their tubes, and there's 2 more holes here. The last 2 of the area, I promise, I know it's a lot of holes, Shia LaBeouf will be proud, but this time the holes are different, marked with rot and screeching music. These final jumps have a more ominous implication, like we're heading somewhere even worse than this nightmare. But as always, what choice do we have? This time we land just outside an elevator shaft, and stepping inside, it automatically heads down. For the entire duration of this descent, I was certain something was going to drop down and attack us. This space was definitely big enough for a fight, but nothing happened. It was just my unsettled little mind working against me. Leaving the lift, it appears we're no longer in the prison. We're in the hallways of a normal building, or more accurately, a maze of hallways. There's several ladders down here, with each one leading to a different chamber, the first of which contains a bizarre altar with f***ing Majora's Mask sat on a rotating pedestal. But we'll come back to that in a moment, because I want to talk about the second ladder first, one that connects to a unique area known in the community as Pyramid Head's Lair. It's a circular hallway occupied by the unkillable beast along with a few mandarin hanging from the grate, making this area a nightmare. But at the center, inside a small red room, we can grab a hilarious weapon, the oversized blade of the triangular knob himself. Because of its speed, it's basically unusable, but you know what? I don't care. It's still badass, and no, I'm not overcompensating for anything, shut up. But returning to the rotating faces, it turns out that the direction of this cube directly matches the rotation of the steel room behind us. To pass through, the square has to be rotated in such a direction that we can gain access, but also exit out the back. Something you can figure out with a little bit of trial and error. Passing through, we enter what looks like a jail cell with an unexpected sight waiting for us.
Maria, I thought that thing killed you.
Maria, back from the dead, and not only that, but something's different.
Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in the hotel? You said you took everything. But you forgot that videotape we made.
Despite claiming she's still Maria, she speaks about private memories only James and Mary could know, once again blurring the line of who this woman really is.
So, you're Maria?
I am. If you want me to be.
This entire interaction would be torture for James, and this behaviour can be taken one of two ways. Either it's cruelty, she's trying to break James down by being wicked and manipulative, or desperation, she genuinely wants to be accepted by James, and as such is willing to play whatever role she needs to make him stay. Even the fact that she's locked in this jail cell is symbolic of what Maria has always embodied. His wife, just within reach, yet he can't have her.
I'm here for you, James. See? I'm real.
Whatever the case, James is spinning right now, and after agreeing to rescue her, we work through a labyrinth of tunnels and ladders as we head towards her cell, eventually climbing up one last ladder to find a news article talking about a man that was stabbed to death. Apparently nothing was stolen, so the police describe the murder as a crime of passion. It's tragic, but it doesn't mean much to us, so we head into the connecting hallway where we hear a familiar voice screaming out.
Daddy!
It's Angela, and rushing to help her, we find her huddled in the corner with a monster approaching. This beast is known as Abstract Daddy. It's a twisted being born from the abuse Angela suffered from her father and brother, and the symbolism is chilling. It appears as a beast wreathing on a bed, atop a fleshy tube capped with lips or some other grotesque orifice. Even the room itself is made up of a fleshy material, with piston holes lining its center, all of which have blunt metal pipes pushing in and out. I mean, are you picking up what I'm putting down? I'm not sure how much I can say in this video without getting age restricted, but basically, the dad and brother were very bad people.
Daddy! No!
The Abstract Daddy's slow moving and attacks by literally hurling its body at James, rolling on top of him and doing, I don't even want to know. He's not a very difficult boss, but I'll be damned if his symbolism isn't scarring. Fuck. Also, the news article we read a few moments ago, it said the man was stabbed and that the weapon hadn't been recovered. It seems that the man in question was Angela's dad, and the knife we took from her was the murder weapon. Seeking revenge, she killed her father before fleeing and somehow ending up in Silent Hill. With the beast defeated, Angela gathers her strength and attacks its body. Now that's all fine, I get the hatred, but once she comes to her senses, she suddenly turns on us too, accusing James of being a pig.
You only care about yourself anyway, you disgusting pig!
She's revolted by us, literally feeling sick just thinking about it.
Angela.
Don't touch me! You make me sick!
This could be excused as a general hatred for men after her father's torment, but she throws a more specific insult our way.
You said your wife Mary was dead, right?
Yes. She was ill.
Liar! I know about you. You didn't want her around anymore. You probably found someone else.
James is left shell-shocked, claiming that he never, but failing to find the words.
That's ridiculous. I never.
Well, I guess that's the thanks you get for helping. Hey, at least we can still save Maria. So we continue our journey, eventually stumbling across a chamber with 6 masked bodies floating in the air. Each one stands accused of a crime, ranging from murder to petty theft, a mystery that makes more sense when we enter a second room down the hall with a matching set of nooses. The puzzle's simple in theory. 5 out of 6 of these men were actual criminals, but one's innocent, and it's our job to figure out which. And on a plaque behind these ropes, there's a cryptic message from a man claiming he's about to walk the 13 steps and be hung despite being innocent. He then speaks about every other prisoner, describing their crimes in various vague ways. So our job is to break that down into chunks, crossing off the guilty crimes, with stealing children describing the kidnapper and embezzling public money describing the embezzler, and so on, with ultimately only one person being unaccounted for. The counterfeiter. So we approach his corresponding noose and pull on it, with all the implication that having a mentally unstable man staring into a noose comes with. If we guess correct, the counterfeiter's body will be gone, and in its place we'll find the key of the persecuted, which lets us pass through a previously locked gate. The fact that this puzzle comes directly after Angela accuses him of being a terrible partner and wanting his wife gone gives this riddle a whole other meaning. James is toiling with accusations he doesn't believe, and here he's literally tasked with finding the falsely accused innocent man. In any case, all this work was for now, because when we reach Maria, once again, we're too late.
Maria, no. What happened to you?
Lying on the bed, she's already dead, with sickness boiling over her face.
Mary.
Leaving the cell and stumbling through the halls, we head up a ladder and arrive at an indoor graveyard, a confused mishmash of locations. Here we can read different gravestones, even finding a space for Walter Sullivan, but at the back there's 3 freshly dug holes. One for Eddie, one for Angela, and one for James Sunderland, the latter of which contains yet another hole. And diving head first, this time there's no animation, no jump, we just arrive atop a staircase and make our way down. This hallway slowly becomes colder and more visceral, with blood slathered on the walls and floor, all of which lead to a heavy door. Entering a freezer, we find our boy Eddie with even more bodies in tow.
He always busted my balls. You fat, disgusting piece of shit.
He's frantically raging about the people that have bullied him throughout his life.
It doesn't matter if you're smart, dumb, ugly, pretty. It's all the same once you're dead.
James tries to calm him, to empathize with his struggle, but it doesn't take much to push Eddie over the edge.
You're just like him, James.
Hey, I didn't mean anything.
Don't bother. I understand. You've been laughing at me all along, haven't you? Ever since we first met. I'll kill you, James!
Well, it was only a matter of time, really. This man has been falling apart at the seams, and now we have to put the dog down. It's not a great fight, I can't lie. It feels surprisingly rushed when compared to the rest of the game. I mean, we just stand there like 2 dipshits opening fire, with Eddie raising his revolver so slowly, it's comical. I mean, the fuck we fighting? The sloth from Zootropolis. And after shooting Eddie, you know, a real human being, several times in the stomach with a shotgun, instead of exploding into giblets, he does a cute little dash out the room. This leaves us freezing and honestly confused about what just happened, but in an unintentional, cringy way, not the usual mind-boggling Silent Hill way. The fight isn't over though. Eddie's still going strong. He's got that dumb strength, apparently able to withstand an inhuman amount of damage. And following him into the meat storeroom, Eddie finally explains how he ended up here.
Yeah, I killed that dog. It was fun. It tried to chew its own guts out. Finally died all curled up in a ball. Then he came after me. I shot him too.
It would appear his nice guy appearance was just a facade. He's cruel and violent, attacking dogs and people alike, with James appearing to be his next victim. The second engagement is somehow even more anticlimactic than the first, with him Naruto running towards our barrel and getting fucking bodied.
I killed a human being.
Yeah, no shit, dude. He barely even tried to fight back. Bro was slapping you on the tit and you pulled out the 2-barrel. You're a bad person.
Goodbye, goodbye, good friends, goodbye.
Jokes aside, James is traumatized by this. Sure, he's killed plenty of monsters, but they were just that, monsters. And while Eddie was metaphorically a monster, he's still a human, and that's entirely different.
Mary. Did you really die 3 years ago?
Sadly, we can't take his revolver, but from this point, if the player examines Mary's letter, they'll discover it's a blank page. But what does this mean? Is the town trying to isolate James even further, or did the letter even exist in the first place? Leaving the storeroom, we find ourselves on a dock, and following it down, there's a rowboat waiting for us, with Lakeview Hotel shining in the distance. We're almost there. Answers are waiting for us. All we have to do is cross Toluca Lake. James is at rock bottom right now. He doesn't know what's real or who he can trust, and he's just killed a man. With all this mounting up, having James row across the foggy lake perfectly captures his lost, helpless feeling. Only a faint light from the hotel is guiding our way. It's almost like James's last hope is arriving to find Mary waiting for him. A single delusional dream driving him forward. After rowing for some time, we dock at the hotel, pass through the front gate, and ascend the steps leading to the entrance. And tickle my aunt, there are exactly 13 steps. The same number of steps mentioned by the innocent man before his hanging, which is way too specific to be a coincidence, and the attention to detail is baffling. Inside, we instantly find a map with room 312 marked by the sentence, "Waiting for you." Could this mean Mary really is here? Much to our surprise, the hotel's clean and intact. Aside from the darkness, it's nowhere near as run down as you'd expect. And checking the front desk, there's a note claiming James left a videotape behind and that it's being stored in the office safe. Consider my curiosity piqued, but before we track it down, we head to the dining hall to inspect this beautiful piano.
Did I scare you?
Man, I hate this kid, but thankfully this time she's of use because she's got a letter from Mary containing some vital details.
Wanna read it? But don't tell Rachel, okay?
Who's Rachel?
She was our nurse. I took it from her locker.
It appears they shared a nurse, which clarified how Laura became acquainted with Mary. She was in the hospital at the same time for an unknown reason. Mary knows she's going to pass soon though, and claims she loved Laura like a daughter, even wishing she could have adopted her if things were different. These touching words are then followed with a remark about James, saying she knows he can appear unpleasant, but to give him a chance, that he can be grumpy, but deep down, he's a nice person. Finally, the letter closes with happy 8th birthday, prompting James to ask when she turned 8.
I turned 8 last week.
So, Mary couldn't have died 3 years ago.
This throws everything James has been saying into doubt. How doesn't he know when his own wife passed? That's a very important thing for a husband to know, and 3 years is quite a big gap. Anyway, realizing she dropped a different letter, Laura runs out, and when we follow her, she's gone, with a couple of abstract daddies taking her place. This time, they're a faster moving, weaker version, and according to Ito-san, they serve no symbolic purpose outside of their boss fight. And when later questioned about why they appeared in the hotel, he just replied, because it's the game. I guess that means the level designers just chucked them in for extra combat rather than any symbolic meaning, but I guess after all, it is in the game. EA.
Challenge everything.
Heading up to the 3rd floor, as you would expect, it's locked shut. Well, bugger. Exploring the hotel a while, we find a few keys, open a few doors, and eventually find ourselves in a lift when a klaxon rings. Turns out with all our gear, we weigh too much. If we want to head down, we need to store all our weaponry in this here locker, something you really don't want to do in a place like Silent Hill. Thank God James didn't comfort eat during his wife's sickness or he'd be screwed. So we unload our gear and without so much as a pot to piss in, we make our way through the staff area, avoiding the various monsters until we find the mysterious tape. And thank God, we don't want that shit leaking to the internet. James is into some freaky stuff. Passing through a bar, we unlock our way back to the lobby, but we still don't have our gear, which means a mad dash is on the cards, all the way back to our locker where we run into multiple mannequins trying to stop us. But after grabbing our stuff and coming back to teach him some manners, they're gone. Almost like they were only there to take advantage of us while we were vulnerable. Now by this point, we'll have gathered 3 music boxes during our travels, with each one relating to a different Disney princess. These boxes are for a device at the center of the lobby. Match the 3 princesses to their corresponding description and you're off. The device rotates, revealing a key to the stairwell, which means we finally have access to James and Mary's holiday suite. It's time for a revelation. The room's empty. Mary isn't here after all, which really is no surprise, but there is a VHS player by the TV, so we insert the old tape we left behind to see what secrets it contains. It's fuzzy and hard to make out, but the violent act is clear. At some point, likely only a few days ago, James decided he'd had enough. Either through misguided mercy, frustration, or plain old hatred, James took a pillow and suffocated Mary. She is dead, and she was sick, that much is true, but what James blocked from his memory was the fact that her death was ultimately by his hand. This must be the information Angela knew earlier when she was insulting James.
I know about you. You didn't want her around anymore.
Something that retroactively explains how sickened she was by us.
You only care about yourself anyway. You disgusting pig.
Also, going back to the game's start, when James first discovers the radio, we hear Mary's voice, and what it says is chilling. James, I'm here. Come to me, James. I'm waiting for you. Why did you kill me, James? You probably wouldn't catch it the first time round, but when you know the truth, it's much easier to pick out and truly harrowing. The town was trying to tell him from the very beginning.
What the?
This revelation opens a whole new meaning to the creatures as well. The lying figure and bubblehead nurses at first looked to be writhing in pain, but perhaps they were struggling for air, just like his wife in her final moments. Pyramid Head also takes on a different role from here, but I'll get to that in a moment because right now, Laura's just run in, eager to help us find Mary.
So there you are, James. Did you get the letter? Did you find Mary? If not, let's get going already, okay?
James tries to explain the truth, sparing her the grisly details, but letting her know that Mary isn't coming back.
Mary's gone. She's dead.
This causes Laura to revert to her initial hatred of James, saying she was right about him and that he was a bad person after all.
Why'd you do it? I hate you. I want her back. Give her back to me.
She storms out of the room, leaving James to sit and reflect on the actions that led him here. And after wallowing for a while, the radio crackles into life.
James, where are you? I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you. Please come to me.
It's Maria. Apparently she's nearby and she needs our help. Hey, third time's a charm. We already let Mary down. This could be our only chance of redemption. So with the weight of reality bearing down on us, we follow the call, leaving to discover an entirely different hotel. It's rusty and wet, appearing more abandoned than the pristine accommodation we arrived to. This version is part of the otherworld, although an interesting theory to entertain is that perhaps this isn't an other world at all. Maybe this is how the hotel really looked when we first arrived. The perfectly maintained grounds, in hindsight, doesn't make sense for an abandoned town. It's possible James created this illusion based on how he remembered it from his holiday, a delusion created to protect himself and envision a world where nothing's changed. A time when he was happy and his wife was alive, but when his false reality was shattered, he sees the hotel for how it truly is, ruined and burnt. This section was powerful in so many ways. For starters, finding out the man we've been playing as and even rooting for had brutally murdered his wife was a shell-shocking moment and for its time, a groundbreaking twist. Then we leave our room to find the hotel reflecting this disgusting side of James, from the damp walls to the mind-numbing hum. Not only that, but the doors now lead to random locations, with some looping back on themselves and others leading to completely random hallways. He's lost, moving through this world with no solid grip on reality as it progressively gets more corrupt and eroded. Eventually though, we reach the basement, which is now filled with water and various monsters. The tension is palpable, it's building up, getting us ready for what comes next. A staircase engulfed in flames. Stood in this inferno is Angela, who calls out to us in an unexpected way.
Mama, I was looking for you. Now you're the only one left. Maybe then I can rest.
She's completely given up, feeling that she deserved the abuse, blaming herself for it, and even asking for the knife back.
I deserved what happened.
No, Angela. That's wrong.
Give me back that knife.
Denying her the blade, she asks if we're saving it for ourselves.
Saving it for yourself?
Me? No. I'd never kill myself.
Before turning around and ascending into the flames.
It's hot as hell in here.
For me, it's always like this.
It's a tragic ending for a tragic character. Unable to move past her trauma, Angela gives up, accepting her fate and giving in to the hatred and pain, literally and figuratively letting the flames consume her. The camera's angled to obscure her once she reaches the top, so players would normally assume she met her demise. However, using hacks, if we follow her to the top, you'll encounter Angela stood there, bending and twisting in inhuman ways. Whether it's a disturbing Easter egg or just an unfinished animation acting up, we'll never know, but it's damn creepy. Leaving this inferno, James turns a corner to encounter 9 red squares placed in a grid. And while there isn't an official reason given to the meaning of these, we do know that Silent Hill 2 has exactly 9 creatures, each one representing an aspect of his guilt, and he's beaten them all. So perhaps this section signifies that James is close to conquering the internal battle he's been fighting. Well, all of them bar one. Either way, things are coming to a head, and beyond this door, a challenger awaits us. Back from the dead once more, we find Maria strapped to a cage with not 1, but 2 Pyramid Head Eye. Are they like cactus? I don't know. 2 waiting for us.
Leave us both the hell alone!
Maria screams for help, but as always, there's little we can do but watch. And with Maria dying for a 3rd time, James falls to his knees. Except he's not given up. Instead, he finally understands what needs to be done.
I was weak. That's why I needed you. Needed someone to punish me for my sins. But that's all over now.
Ready to face his demons, he stands to find the 2 waiting either side, ready for one last fight.
Now it's time to end this.
Gone is the long blade, with both donning a faster spear weapon. They're still relatively slow moving, and the arena is huge, so it's a very easy fight provided you keep running corner to corner and taking shots with the rifle. This fight's more symbolic than challenging. Even the music isn't scary or intense, it's reflective, almost optimistic, like James is facing reality with one last-ditch effort. Eventually though, after dealing enough damage, the 2 Pyramid Heads walk to the center and without so much as a word, impale themselves. This final act embodies Pyramid Head's entire existence. James subconsciously knew what he'd done to Mary, but he couldn't confront it. He couldn't own up to his actions. So, as a form of self-punishment, the town brought Pyramid Head into existence to hunt down and punish James, something he even recognizes by the end.
I was weak. That's why I needed you.
Now, having taken responsibility and proven he doesn't need them anymore, they're no longer of any use. With this knowledge, it could explain the violent displays we've encountered thus far. All the scenes where Pyramid Head is struggling with a monster. Perhaps this is how James viewed himself, a man overpowering his defenseless wife. Also, the fact that there are 2 of them, only after fighting Eddie, could signify his guilt for having 2 deaths attributed to him, with each one representing a separate killing.
I killed her.
That was fatso.
Also, times Pyramid Head only appears with his giant blade after speaking to Angela and getting her knife. A knife that looks suspiciously like a smaller version of Pyramid Head's weapon. With Pyramid Head basically being conjured from James's repressed feelings, it's possible that receiving her blade planted the seed of self-harm, which was then reflected in the monster's choice of weapon.
Saving it for yourself?
Also, Tresmec's dip. It's possible Pyramid Head could even represent the sickness itself. We see them kill Maria twice throughout the game, and each time, James sits there and watches, unable to do diddly squat. Much like watching his wife succumb to a sickness he can't cure.
Mary.
And listen here, you little bitch. I don't want to hear anyone complaining I'm looking into this too deep. You've clicked on a multi-hour analysis of a horror game. The fuck you expect them, bro? Leave me alone. Hit the like button, then leave me alone. Anyway, impaled, the 2 stand there, just T-posing, until we grab an egg from each of their bodies. A rusty one and a scarlet one. Why do they have eggs? I don't know, but I've seen talk online that they could signify the lives James took, with the rusty egg representing the old murder of his sick wife, and the scarlet egg representing the recent death of Eddie. That might be a long shot, but it's the best interpretation I've seen. Leaving this area, we walk through a long hallway where James reflects on the last conversation he had with Mary.
Get the hell out of here! Leave me alone already! I'm no use to anyone. I'll be dead soon anyway. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. It'd be easier if they'd just kill me. But I guess the hospital is making a nice profit off me. They want to keep me alive.
There's a lot to unpack here. For starters, let's just establish that smothering your loved one is always a bad thing. No one has the right to make that choice.
Good to see you, dear.
I yield. I yield.
But through this dialogue, we see a terminally ill woman that clearly wants to pass, being kept alive against her will. Regardless of his true motives, you could argue that it wasn't a selfish killing, but rather a very misguided act of love. I mean, you could assume that right up until the last second where she changes her mind.
Don't leave me alone. Tell me I'll be okay. Tell me I'm not going to die. Help me.
Asking James to stay and help her, not wanting to give up and just wanting her loved one to support her. It's a tough listen, especially when you know how it ended and the drastic measures James took. But what I appreciate about this dialogue is that it maintains ambiguity over the entire situation. How should we view James and his actions? Is he a selfish, wicked man or a mentally unstable, loving partner? However you view him, that's your choice. Heading up one last staircase, we arrive at what looks like a warehouse with nothing but a bed and Mary waiting for us.
Mary?
When will you ever stop making that mistake? Mary's dead. You killed her.
Once again, we've been duped. This ain't our wife, it's Maria, pretending to be her, even dressed in the same clothing. This woman's fucking nuts, bro. And if that wasn't bad enough, when James rejects her, she snaps, claiming we deserve to die too.
It's time to end this nightmare.
No, I won't let you. You deserve to die too, James.
Consumed with her hatred, she transforms into a beast, hovering in midair with a very similar design to the Flesh Lips, appearing encaged in a metal hospital bed with some apparatus around her face, which likely represents the medical devices used to extend her life.
It'd be easier if they'd just kill me. But I guess the hospital is making a nice profit off me. They want to keep me alive.
This is the final boss, and honestly, after having fought 2 pyramid heads, it's kind of anticlimactic. She floats around in a slightly too large arena, trying to whip us with a tentacle-like appendage, all the while summoning moths to swarm us, which are super fucking annoying.
In the dream, they took me to the light.
I would genuinely have been happy if they left Pyramid Head as the final boss, just having this scene serve as a final goodbye rather than a second, less engaging fight. Regardless, we play kissy catch for a while, run it back and forth, until finally, we drop that skank. Hitting the ground, she lies there, helpless, until we walk over and finish her off. An ending that resembles the situation that landed us here in the first place. Pulling the trigger, we flick to James sat beside Mary, where, after all the torment, he's finally able to get closure.
I told you that I wanted to die, James. I wanted the pain to end.
That's why I did it, honey. I just couldn't watch you suffer. No, that's not true. You also said you didn't want to die. The truth is, I hated you. I wanted you out of the way. I wanted my life back.
Conflicted at first, he appears to land on the conclusion that he was trying to act out of love. Even if his actions were unforgivable, he was trying to end her suffering.
If that were true, then why do you look so sad?
Mary?
James. Please. Please do something for me. Go on with your life.
Mary forgives him in the end and asks him to continue his life, something he appears to do, leaving through the graveyard with Laura in tow. Before he leaves though, we hear one last letter from Mary, where she talks about her final days.
Whenever you come see me, I can tell how hard it is on you. I don't know if you hate me or pity me, or maybe I just disgust you. I'm sorry about that.
It's somber. She knows she's a burden. Her sickness has made her husband miserable, and she hates that just as much as her condition, despite neither being her fault. You can't help but feel sorry for her. She was the real victim in all of this. From the sickness to a tragic end, the story of Mary is a heartbreaking one.
You've given me so much,
and I haven't been able to return a single thing. That's why I want you to live for yourself now. Do what's best for you, James. You made me happy.
What happens to James from here, well, it's unknown, but he's free to live his life without torment, having accepted his actions and facing his worst fears. He'll return to society and face whatever judgment the legal system has in store for him. Even in the best ending, he's not a hero. He doesn't have a perfect conclusion. Life just goes on. But of course, it wouldn't be a Silent Hill game without multiple endings. The conclusion we just saw, despite being depressing, is still considered the good one, referred to as Leave. But it's only one of 6, yes, 6 possible endings, ranging from drowning ourselves to fucking dog conspiracies. The criteria to unlock each one is still slightly ambiguous, as the code base has never fully been cracked. But in the ending we just achieved, there are 3 main criteria. First is keeping our health high, healing James the moment he gets injured, which in essence demonstrates that we care about his well-being. We want him to heal and recover physically and in the end, mentally.
If that were true, then why do you look so sad?
The other requirement is to regularly inspect Mary's photo and letter, showing that James actually cares about his late wife, that he's constantly thinking about her and remembers why he's there in the first place.
Could Mary really be there?
Finally, and this one's more likely to be a failing point for most first-time players, we have to spend as little time as possible with Maria, treating her with the suspicion and distance she deserves. I reckon this caught a lot of people out. In games like this, it's instinctual to stick with our followers and to make sure they're safe. But here, it'll put us one step closer to the bad ending.
I am, if you want me to be.
The criteria is subtle, and on first playthroughs, you'd likely have no idea your actions were being judged, but I much prefer that.
Hey, I didn't mean anything.
The second ending is called In Water, and it plays out much the same, with James encountering Maria pretending to be Mary, the two fighting, James defeating her and apologizing to Mary.
That's why I did it, honey. I just couldn't watch you suffer.
However, in this case, after Mary passes, James arrives at a different conclusion, that he can't live without her, that he must have come to Silent Hill to off himself. So, with the corpse of Mary, who in this ending was in the back of the car the entire time, James enters the vehicle and drives into Toluca Lake, ensuring that the two lovers will remain together forever in death.
Without you, Mary, I've got nothing. Now we can be together.
In this ending, the start of the game becomes so much more ominous, with James staring at himself in the mirror and then walking over to view the lake. We can imagine now what James was truly considering before some delusion drove him to explore the town for his late wife.
Could Mary really be there?
It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication.
To achieve this somber ending, we need to keep our health low for as long as possible, making sure we don't heal unless we're about to die. Basically, we have to do the bare minimum to keep ourselves healthy, just clinging on without any real care for what happens to us. We also need to inspect the knife regularly, implying James is considering self-harm just like Angela.
I can't tell you to remember me, but I can't bear for you to forget me.
The third ending's called Maria and is, in my opinion, the worst ending you can get. In this version, when we enter the warehouse, we don't find Maria pretending to be Mary. Instead, the woman will consistently identify as Mary and protest that she hasn't forgiven James for killing her.
Do you really think I could ever forgive you for what you did?
The fight then ensues as normal, but after beating her, James returns to Rosewater Park, where inexplicably, Maria returns to us, asking James a very important question.
You killed Mary again?
That wasn't Mary. Mary's gone.
James claims that what he thought wasn't Mary before leaving the town with Maria.
Come on. Let's get out of here.
What about Mary?
It's okay. I have you.
Which at first you could argue is kind of a happy ending. He gets a version of his wife back, even if she was spawned from an evil town. But there's a problem. Just before they leave, Maria starts coughing. In response, and in an irritated fashion, James claims that she has to do something about that cough.
Better do something about that cough.
It's almost an endless loop where James clearly hasn't learned from his past and is likely doomed to repeat the nightmare once again.
It's okay. I have you.
To get this ending, we have to stick with Maria like flies on shit, protecting her from monsters, following her commands, and regularly visiting her when she's sick in Brookhaven Hospital. Hi. Bye. As I said, I think this is the worst ending. James is depicted as a heartless killer with little regard for his late wife, and it was all for now anyway, because it's all gonna happen again.
Better do something about that cough.
The final ending is called Rebirth, and it's only achievable on a second playthrough, in which we can grab the White Chrism in Blue Creek, Lost Memories at Texan Gas, Obsidian Goblet in the Historical Society, and the Crimson Ceremony in the Reading Room of Lakeview Hotel. In this ending, after James kills the final boss, he decides he can't live without Mary, and he's willing to do anything to get her back.
You look so peaceful. Forgive me for waking you. But without you, I just can't go on.
So he takes the rowboat and brings Mary's body to the Church of Rebirth on Toluca Lake, with the goal of using our newfound objects to resurrect Mary by confronting the old gods.
The old gods haven't left this place, and they still grant power to those who venerate them.
This ending is fully left up to our imagination. We don't know if it works, we don't know if James lives, or even what type of person Mary would be if she does somehow return. Now in Silent Hill, this could easily be a Pet Sematary type beat. The old gods aren't known for their kindness or understanding. In a way, this is almost the most believable of the endings. Given how unstable James is and the guilt he felt towards Mary, I could fully believe he'd risk it all to try and bring her back.
I just can't go on.
But I'm curious what you guys think is both the best and the most likely to occur ending. Let me know in the comments so we can settle this debate once and for all. But with that, the serious endings are out of the way. But there are two more absolutely bonkers joke endings, starting with the dog. Once again, this is only available in a second playthrough, where we can find a new key called the dog key in a doghouse. Insert Silent Hill 1, I don't see a dog meme. Then, right at the very end of the game, we can use this key to enter the observation room, where James discovers a dog controlling all the events of the game from an outlandish computer console. I mean, let's just imagine that's real for a second. How horrific would it be for James to discover that every mind-shattering experience was just the machinations of a Japanese dog entertaining itself? Truly a disturbing reality. The second joke ending wasn't originally included in the PS2 release. It was added after the fact in the Xbox Greatest Hit and Director's Cut versions, and this ending is a continuation of the UFO joke from the first game, where we discover James getting abducted by a group of aliens led by a familiar face. Harry Mason, the protagonist of the first game. It's just a bit of dumb fun, nothing too serious, and we all know how much Silent Hill loves aliens for some reason. To obtain this ending, we need to grab a blue gem during a second playthrough and use it in 3 locations spread across Silent Hill. The first in Brookhaven Hospital Garden after the fleshlit boss fight. The second in front of the rowboat on the dock after fighting Eddie. And the third is in room 312. Do that, and when we finish the game, we get to see this beauty in all its comical glory. But we ain't done yet. Much like the different endings, unlockables are a big part of Silent Hill. I mean, who could forget the Princess Hut outfit from Silent Hill 3? And in Silent Hill 2, there'd be more secrets. The first is the easiest to obtain. All we have to do is beat the game once or play on easy mode, like a fucking child. Like a silly little fucking child playing an adult horror game on easy mode. Anyway, do this and we unlock a new weapon, the chainsaw. A devastating weapon that really is a staple of the horror genre. James will even do a funny Bobber impression if he idles over a dead body for too long. Literally me camping a hooked survivor. We can find it after talking to Angela at the start of the game, leaving the graveyard to find it jammed in a log, ready for the taking. Lavely. No more running for James, head-on confrontations only. The second unlock is also a weapon, or 4 technically. If we complete the game on hard mode, or complete the game 3 times on a lower difficulty, we unlock the deadliest of weapons, the hyper spray. Eat shit, you smelly bastards. This weapon comes in 4 variations depending on the rank you got at the end of your playthrough, with 3 of them being basically worthless and the green one being an absolute beast. You unlock this color by getting 10 stars at the end of your playthrough, which means only professionals will be getting it, but it is an instant killer. It's basically easy mode, but I suppose after you've beat the game multiple times and achieved the highest possible ranking, why not let us break the game a bit? There's only 1 unlock left, and sadly, it ain't a cute little dress number for James. It's actually a whole new difficulty level, one called Extra Riddle Mode, and its purpose is pretty self-explanatory. Harder puzzles with more vague and confusing solutions. To unlock it, you have to complete the game on each riddle level at least once, and it's all yours, which I don't think makes much sense. Surely it should just unlock after beating the hardest difficulty. Once you've done that, who cares about easy, right? That seems like a waste of time, but who am I to question the old gods?
This is the day of reckoning.
With that, this tale is finally at an end, leaving us with only one question to summarize. What does this game, this journey, represent?
I was weak. That's why I needed you.
Well, as we established, the main themes are guilt, self-hatred, remorse, and grief. Aspects we not only see through James's eyes, but through every character we interact with. From Angela to Eddie, everyone in this town is broken and struggling to accept their reality or running from their past.
I was just joking, James.
James, having killed his own wife, suffered from a mental breakdown, taking himself to Silent Hill in a self-imposed illusion that maybe everything will be alright. Once there, the town turned on him, taking his deep-rooted fears, his suppressed memories, and his secret desires, only to corrupt and weaponize them. A journey that, depending on which ending you get, depicts him as a man willing to accept his actions and face the consequences, or a delusional, broken individual that will either ignore the past or fight with the old gods to get it back.
The old gods haven't left this place.
Ultimately, considering our protagonist is a man that murdered his wife when she was at her most vulnerable, they do a damn good job of making James someone you root for. There's something about his struggle and his want for things to be better that makes him an extremely engaging character. It's not cut and dry, good and bad. Life, and in particular sickness, is a very grey area, and James captures that perfectly without having to spoon-feed the player some good-evil narrative. His actions are just what they are, and how we view them is entirely up to us.
No. That's not true.
And for those that don't know, a big inspiration for the plot was a little book called Crime and Punishment, which laid the foundation for the themes of murderer's guilt. This is my copy, and I read it back to back in preparation for this video, just to do my due diligence and see if there's any interesting connections to be made, and if anyone likes the psychology aspect of Silent Hill, or the impact guilt has on the human condition. This is a must-read. It's written by Dostoevsky, a Russian author, and he has a bunch of books that have been major successes, and being a Russian author, it's very slow and somewhat depressing, definitely a product of its time, but he has a lot of interesting philosophies he tackles in his books, mostly about kind of depression, human condition, and just accepting and living with different versions of misery and guilt. Another interesting fact about this author is that it's Jordan Peterson's favorite author. Do with that what you will. I mean, in a way, we're all killing old ladies, right? Up yours, woke authors. We'll see who outcries who. This video's going off the fucking rails. I'm sorry, I don't know how I segued into Peterson on a Silent Hill analysis, but the point I'm trying to make is that the themes between this book and the game, they're actually very similar. And if you want something that looks in a much deeper level at the actual effects of guilt on the mind, I would definitely recommend this book. It follows a man named Rodion Raskolnikov, who decides to murder a nasty rich old lady with the plans of stealing her wealth to do great charitable deeds, like improving the city or helping his poor family. And after initially justifying his actions and committing to the act, he then has to contend with his declining mental health as he tries to rationalize what he previously thought was a justifiable murder. It's not about monsters and demigods, only the horrors of a desperate poor student that makes awful choices, but you can clearly see the game's inspiration throughout. And one of the most interesting moments for me was the scene just after he kills the old woman and narrowly manages to escape. Now, in a delusional state, he wanders around town, ending up in various locations with no idea idea how he got there. A situation that sounds awfully similar to the start of Silent Hill 2. I think what I loved about this game is how you can appreciate it with a newfound love the second or third time round. With full knowledge of what's going on, every location and creature takes on a different, deeper meaning, which is a really difficult feat to pull off, but they managed it perfectly.
You only care about yourself anyway, you disgusting pig.
The lighting, set pieces, mood, and puzzles are all, to this day, beautiful. Hell, I was still getting spooked even though I've played the game dozens of times. Weirdly, the greatest concern I had when making this video wasn't that people wouldn't enjoy it, but that I wouldn't do the game justice, that I'd undersell it in some way or just harp on the same tired talking points, but I hope that isn't the case, and I hope this video captured the many nuances that make the game great. It's ugly and beautiful, it's melancholy and horrific, it's a game of contrasts that manages to create one of my favorite horror experiences of all time, and I'm honestly just happy that I've been given the opportunity in life to talk about it and share it with so many people.
I am, if you want me to be.
Hello again. I know, 3 face segments in one video. My haters are crying right now. But I'm here to celebrate the fact that we just passed 500,000 subscribers. Honestly though, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. 500,000 is crazy, and as I said earlier, to have an opportunity to talk about things I love as a career and a way to get paid, it's indescribable, and I'm infinitely grateful. As cliche as that is to say, it's genuinely true. I'm not going to go too in depth and thank you here because I do plan on making a separate video where I kind of talk more candidly about my thoughts about reaching 500,000. Maybe I'll even do a little tour of this office, kind of show you the machine that makes it all move. I don't know, I think it would be a fun thing to do and a nice way to have a bit more of a personal thank you for the intense and ongoing support that everyone's had, especially as I've transitioned into different type of content. Also, if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, don't think that hitting this milestone means you don't have to subscribe as well. No sir, 1 million. That's the next big milestone. Double it, give it to me, make it happen.